Greetings. Welcome to another BankBeat Conversations. My name is Tom Bengtson. I'm the publisher of BankBeat Magazine and BankBeat.biz. Today, our guest is Jerry Baack. Jerry is the CEO and chairman of Bridgewater Bank. We look forward to talking to Jerry about that venture and other things going on in banking.
Thanks, Tom. I really appreciate the time today. So
All right.
Looking forward to this.
Well, part of the reason I wanted to get together is because I remember when Bridgewater was started, 2005, we're coming up on your year away from the 20-year anniversary. It's kind of a key milestone. Why don't you just share with our viewers kind of the Bridgewater story and how we got to this point?
Sure. I started out in actually went to school in Richfield High School, went to college in Mankato State, go Mavericks. And then I got a job with the FDIC out of college. Worked down in Austin, Texas for a few years, and then transferred back up here to Mankato and then Minneapolis, being a bank examiner. And then I worked for 3 community banks in the Twin Cities here, and then just was not very happy at the last place I was at, and just kind of got the bug, saw some other people starting banks, and thought, I think I can do this. So quit my job and put the capital and the management team and the board, and went through the regulatory process, and I think I got the record. It was like 7 months. So
you just say that like it's no big deal. I mean, but I know people have spent years.
I know.
Have an application to start a bank. So I mean, wow. I mean,
Ed Drentel, our attorney at the time, was like, "You can't get this done in 6 months, Jerry." I'm like, "Well, how about 7 then?" So anyway, we got it. We raised the capital. We actually raised more than we had planned on, and yeah, I quit my job on April 6th, and we were open November 2nd. So.
Amazing.
So that was, it was great until the downturn. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
we'll get back to that probably.
We'll get to that. Sure.
No, but the organization process and just the team I put together and the shareholder base, it was really thoughtful on how we went about that, and the network that we brought together to make sure that we had the right team, not only from management, but also the board and especially the shareholder base put together.
Okay. And I'm imagining you must have thought about where you wanted to focus. There's a lot of ways to run a bank. Obviously, you can be retail, you can be commercial, industrial, you can be real estate. Tell us a little bit about how you arrived at your business plan.
Yeah, well, it certainly wasn't going to be consumer based. I mean, it's a non-starter, I think, to try and just be all consumer. So I mean, it for sure is going to have some kind of entrepreneurial piece to it, because I'm an entrepreneur, and most of the clients that I knew and the network I was around are entrepreneurial. So and then I had a real estate niche myself, personally, and then just a lot of the people at bank. So it was natural that we were going to do entrepreneurials. We're going to bank entrepreneurs and with a real estate niche, and it certainly became more of a real estate niche over the years than our original business plan was. But it's turned out for the most part very good. And our multifamily is by far our biggest sector. 35% of our loan portfolio today is affordable housing and apartments, multifamily housing.
Okay. Well, we'll get to the current environment, but of course you opened in 2005, 3 years later, financial crash. I mean, that's got to take the wind out of your sails at least a little, but what was that experience like?
I was, well, first of all, to go back, like, we were profitable in our 3rd month. So we were profitable in January of 2006. So I think the biggest compliment of our team during that time is we got through that whole downturn, charging off quite a few loans, but we never had an operating loss for a month, and never have since. So with that said, yeah, there were some really stressful times. I was thinking on the way over here, because I watched a couple of your podcasts preparing for this, and Bill Horowitz was on there. And
yes.
One of my classic stories for Bill, hopefully he's not watching this, is he's working for the Commerce Department at the time, and he goes, "Jerry, the problem is you're running a real estate hedge fund with insured deposits." I'm like, "Bill, I am not running a real estate hedge fund." So anyway.
Okay, well, people just...
So when that happened, like, when the regulators definitely weren't on our side. So
okay.
Yeah.
But you had come out of a regulatory background, so you kind of knew the mindset of the regulator, what they're looking for, right? Or
yeah, we didn't exactly have their playbook. I think everybody thought that, like, they were easier on us, but I think it was the opposite. And they brought in teams from other states because we knew a lot of the regulators that were going to examine us. So No, it was a super tough environment, but we got through it. And
Mm-hmm.
if you remember the days of TARP, they denied my application in like 3 seconds. So,
Wow.
and you see everybody else that was getting it, and it's like, and then in hindsight, I'm glad we didn't get it.
Okay.
So. And then we always turn lemons into lemonade. So we started advertising no TARP-free bank. We didn't have to say we applied for it. It got denied.
There you go. No, very good, very good. And of course, you had a significant event in 2018. You go public. So was that always kind of the plan from the get-go, or did that evolve? Talk a little bit about that decision.
No,
to go public.
it certainly evolved. I think when we started the bank, we told our shareholder base it'd be a 10-year hold. That was kind of our guess.
Mm-hmm.
We certainly blew out our projections and grew faster and more profitable and more scale than we had originally planned on. But through that time, I mean, I raised capital, and we never used an investment banker. So I raised capital in 2005. I raised capital again in 2008, 2009, 10 again, another big raise in 2013. So I was spending a lot of time raising capital myself, and then we decided to look at the private equity route to continue to scale. So we brought in some private equity in 2015, and then we brought some more in 2016. No, they probably thought I was going to go public more than I thought I was going to go public at that time. I knew that was a possibility, that was probably the event that would give some liquidity to our shareholder base, but it probably wasn't really baked in until 2016, 17. So.
Mm-hmm.
So that was part of like a long-term strategic plan, but not something that's not something I ever dreamed about when we were in the first 5 years of organization. Right?
Now, what might you tell another banker out there who's considering the possibility of taking their privately held bank public? It's obviously got to be a different challenge.
I would say prior to Silicon Valley Bank failing, I'd say, yeah, great. And then after that, no. It's like it's a lot to do with. I mean, if you've got a private stock out there running a bank, and nobody can like look in the Wall Street Journal or wherever on your watch to see where your stock's trading at, it's a different mindset. So I mean, that part's sometimes favorable, sometimes not, depending on the overall economic landscape. But no, the SOX controls, our risk department, the SEC, climate change rules. I mean, you're subject to all these things that you weren't before. So I'm not a huge proponent. I think once you've made a decision, it's not like you're going to go back. So I don't think we're going to try and go private. So, but no, the infrastructure you have to put in place and the amount of non-revenue producing employees you have is not what I ever dreamed on.
Okay.
That wasn't part of the plan. So,
okay.
Because when we first started, it's like everybody has to bring in revenue to this bank. And that changes over time.
Okay. Interesting. I know that you have your values listed in your annual reports and so forth. And the number one value, I believe, is unconventional.
It is.
Talk about that. I've never seen a bank that identified unconventional as.
I'm not sure we have that much time, Tom.
Give us a little preview.
I think we adopted our core values in 2010 when we used the entrepreneurial operating system, EOS, which I know you're familiar with.
Yep.
So at that time, I think there's 4 of us on our leadership team, 5, and we adopted what our core values were, and that was a big one. I mean, we were just right from the get-go of how we operated the bank. We were just non-traditional, unconventional, something different than what everybody else does. So we've really kind of and that one word has really expanded into everything we do. So I mean, last night we do a couple internal happy hour / parties at the bank. We have corporate center that's unconventional. It's like more of a tech feel at our headquarters than it would be any bank you've ever been to, and a big open space and beer on draft. And anyway, what I'm getting to is last night we did this employee event and we did a meat raffle. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we did that last year. Last year we were at the end of an employee meeting and I go like, hey, just one more thing. I had already baked this whole thing. Nobody in the entire bank knew what the hell was going on. And then I had my buddy come and do it. But last night they knew we were going to do a meat raffle. So we did a meat raffle for charity. I got the the announcer at the Timberwolves, John Barry, who's they call him the in-arena host. He's the guy on the floor that like gets the Timberwolves fans going and stuff. So I had him as our MC last night, and it was an absolute blast. So I mean that would be unconventional. From day one, like we're not going to be the bank that takes people golfing all the time or has golf tournaments every year. I mean, we do something different. We had a fishing tournament on Lake Minnetonka 2 weeks ago, 33 different boats. You got one person from Bridgewater and then 2 guests or clients or potential clients in there, and 3 hours of fishing on Lake Minnetonka with a guide. And I won, but I always pick the best guide. So anyway, it's fun. It's something different, right?
Of course.
You have lunch, you go fishing for 3 hours, you come back, have some appetizer and a couple beers, and so I mean, everything we do, our advertising, I think every time we just try and think differently and not think like a traditional bank. So, and I think, it permeates our institution. We've got a phenomenal culture within the bank, and that's something that has built over time. And I think it just has a lot to do with the attitude of our employee base and our client base. I mean, it's like I always say, the best thing too is like, I mean, our employees love working there. We lose people, everybody does. But we generally don't lose people who are a competition that have embraced our culture and our core values. That's very rare to me.
Sure.
Then the other great thing, I mean, our clients are kind of the same. We just got a great client base. And so that's the best part of my job is my clients are my friends, and my friends are my clients. So.
There you go. Yeah. Well, certainly you mentioned your new headquarters, which is maybe 3-4 years old now. What a fabulous building. I've had an opportunity to be there a few times, and it is just a spectacular facility. And I could see getting excited about going to work there, right? And the free beer doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, it doesn't get abused either.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the natural question, right? Like, really?
Yeah, it's like, who has the key to it? Well, nobody has a key to it. It doesn't get abused. Like,
yeah.
You know,
but it's interesting because you that was a very strategic decision you must have made. You must have spent a lot of time thinking about, well, what kind of a headquarters do we want? And it's a big investment.
Yeah, at the time it was a huge investment. It was $45 million, I think we had into it. And I think our furniture package was over $2 million. So, in hindsight, it's not because of construction costs and everything else and inflation since then. But yeah, at the time it was a huge step. We have 84,000 square feet. We occupy a retail branch on the first floor, and I got a great restaurant tenant, Hazelwood, there, who's a client. Then Discover Strengths, the fitness facility that's a training company that's a client of ours too. And then we have the second, third floor and a little bit of the fourth floor, and then rent the rest of the fourth floor out. But no, we bought a piece of land in 2000. We didn't buy it. We actually took it through foreclosure in 2010, and then assembled the rest of that property over the years. And I think we broke ground in 2016, and we opened 18, and we open in August of 2020 in that headquarters. So
sure. And it's interesting because the trend in workplace environment now is it's a lot of hybrid. People are working from home. It's almost seems like there's less need for formal office space. But right in the middle of all of that, you've built this substantial headquarters. And my understanding is your staff all comes in, right?
We still offer flexibility, but no, we want people in the office.
Yeah.
And I mean, if they want to work from home a day, that's fine. But I mean, I go in if I'm in town, I'm in there every single day. I need to be in there. I want to be in there, and people are the same way. It's just it's great to have that flexibility and work from home or work from Florida or wherever you want for a while. But no, we've created an environment, and we want to make sure that people know we're not going to have 100% high. We have, I think, 100% remote position, but she worked for us, and she's in IT, and her husband got transferred out to Seattle. It's like, we need her. We want her,
Sure.
But no, the whole culture there's been great. And I just, people, it's the whole adage, I'm wearing the water cooler talk and being able to talk to people in the hall and the stuff that you get done. And so that's been very positive for us.
You mentioned the emphasis on multifamily housing. And of course, real estate's kind of, regulators got their eye on it. A lot of talk about concern in that sector. How do you explain that to potential investors that this is a focus for your bank?
Yeah, I mean I've been explaining it to regulators and investors for almost 20 years now. So I truly believe, and a lot of investors do too, that I mean banks with true niches are more successful than what the regulators think, that you have to have this equal, diversified everything. And I know there's risk on not being diversified. I also think if you are really good in the market niche that you're in, you can figure out how to navigate that. So like I said, the multifamily affordable housing is 35% of our portfolio, and I'd be comfortable going higher than that. It's a great sector. Our losses in our history are $60,000 in that book. It's a loan I did to an ex-Viking. Never lend to professional football players. Anyway,
I love it.
and that was like down 2008 or something.
Okay.
I mean, our portfolio's held up great over the years, and again, like the regulators love to say, like, land development's risky or construction's risky, but if you look into the actual sectors, I mean, C&I and small business has been a higher loss rate than anything. So, and consumer and multifamilies by far have been the lowest loss rate in history. So we feel comfortable there. Our client base is great. I mean, this interest rate environment and having an inverted yield curve for this long is not easy on bankers. It's not easier on our client base. I was going to say it can't last forever. I sure hope not. So no, it's a very challenging time right now for everybody. I'm continue to be pleased with the overall asset quality as a nation and as a banking sector to date. And it can't last forever, but it's still holding on.
Yeah,
So.
I was intrigued. I think I read in one of your reports that you've identified companies that use EOS as good potential clients in the entrepreneurial operating system, which is pretty popular. A lot of businesses use that. But talk about that. I mean, obviously EOS has worked at your bank, which is interesting because banks don't necessarily, it's not super common that banks use that system. So that's interesting in and of itself. And then now to identify that as a sector of borrowers.
I think we're for sure one of the first banks that went on it in 2010, but there's quite a few local banks here that are now on it. We try and target the implementers, which they're like the facilitators for your meetings. We target them because then they know all these small businesses.
Oh, I see.
And we just feel like it's a market niche. You got the same lingo. Generally, those companies have a better management structure and hopefully would become more successful, whether they're a bank or an insurance company or an auto shop or whatever the case may be. So yeah, that's been one of the niches we've really focused on. We also focus on banking women. Mary Jane Crocker, our chief strategy officer, has just been phenomenal in putting together this women's network, and that's certainly been another vertical that's been great for us. And then continue to push affordable housing, like truly affordable housing, financing low-income housing tax credits, and bridging land loans for national developers, and but truly on the affordable side. So that's kind of our three niches currently beyond what our traditional banking services.
Okay. So if you were to look out, let's say the next 5 years for the enterprise, it's kind of those niches that you just talked about. Or are there other things that?
No, there's always other strategies, and we certainly we're always looking into other strategies that and trying those out before we would publicly announce whether they're going to work or not.
Sure.
So.
And then we'll end on this, but for you personally, you recently turned the title of president over to another person.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Does that represent a significant change in your relationship with the enterprise or not?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I've been president, CEO, and chairman since day one, right? So, and I don't think I ever planned on holding those three titles. And frankly, I mean, they're all kind of the same in a lot of ways, but as you scale and you have more infrastructure and you have more middle management and the phenomenal leadership team that I have, I mean, I'm just the eye candy now, right? Just kidding.
Can't argue that.
I mean, our CFO Joe Chabowski's been with us like 13 years, and he's so phenomenal, and really has a phenomenal finance and a finance and banking mind, and he's so being able to have him be president and CFO, being able to give some of those traditional CFO duties away, and having him over some other areas within the bank as president has been the move forward that we just did, and that's been very positive so far.
Awesome. Well, Jerry, I really appreciate you being willing to come out here and share your story a little bit with the BankBeat audience here via this video. I think Bridgewater's got a great story. I'm going to look forward to continuing to watch it closely and perhaps have you back down the line. It's really been something to watch over the last almost 20 years. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it, Tom, and I appreciate everything you've done for the industry. And it is a great industry, and we're in a time right now where it's not as fun as other times have been. And I look forward to the future, and it'll be fun to see what's next on the banking scene.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Thanks, Tom.
Well, thank you, everybody. This is Tom Bengtson. I'm with Jerry Baack, CEO and chairman of Bridgewater Bank. And I appreciate you joining us, and we'll look for you next time when we do another BankBeat conversation.